Well, hello and welcome. Today I'm going to be doing a painting of a scene from Alaska. Got mountains and water, little plants and flowers, all kinds of great stuff in here. It should be a nice mix. I'm going to start out with I think just a single layer of a light blue that will be just a mix of blue and white and a little bit of my lavender spike oil, so it should dry pretty fast. I'm gonna kind of sketch that in. I'm gonna sketch some of the mountains in probably pretty quickly, and then I'm gonna work into all of it with some wax and do kind of like an impressionist impasto style interpretation of it. I think that should be pretty nice. So hope you'll enjoy it, and yeah, I'll just go ahead and get into it. Get some white paint out first of all. It's just really getting annoying. It's getting kind of low, but not really low enough for how annoying it is. All right, so that's at the ready, and I'm gonna take a bit of this. I have a bunch of it, and a little bit of the Severs blue, and just try that combo to start. I think it might be a really nice way to begin. It's just about perfect. It's a good match for my sky color. My sky color as well as my water reflection. Okay. A little bit of that. See if we can get that to a nice consistency. Definitely looking forward to some spring. I should do a little bit more snow painting before the season changes, but I want to just do some stuff with colors, more colors. All right, that's looking pretty nice. That's going to be a good color for this. A little bit of this into this jar as well. Alright. Grab my brush. Be a little bit loud. Usually put a second canvas behind, but since I decided this was going to be a square one, I didn't have another one to go behind it. So this will work out just fine. Just grabbing a little bit of this lavender spikes on it. Keep adding it in. Keep this all flowing. I like to start with something other than white. It just helps me gauge my values a little bit better. of here. Nice. Okay. Looks pretty good. Quite a bit of this extra, so I'm just going to move it over to the side. I think it will possibly come in handy later on. Clean this brush out too. Clean this brush out. I might switch to try to decide if I do small knife or small brush next. Go with a knife for a little bit, and then I may switch to a brush just to kind of get the flower shapes in if I need it. I'm trying to stay flexible with that and not sort of force a tool if it's not the right one for the job. So I've got, the nice thing about these mountains is I've got kind of a pretty little progression with them. They also have some snow on them, so. But then I've got the very green foreground, so that'll be kind of a nice combination. I'm gonna start. Yeah, I'm gonna start all the way back, like I do sometimes. I'm gonna make a slightly warm gray, mixing in my original color with a little bit of brown. I've got burnt sienna there. I think that's going to be too warm, so I'm going to grab some raw umber instead and try that. Might be about more correct. Okay, just looking for my last peek in here. right now I'm just trying to place these with these little lines. Just gonna get the shape of the range, and then I'm gonna probably adjust colors a little bit as I fill them in, but I'm just trying to, right now I'm trying to get the right proportions, so focusing on that mainly more than the color currently. It's actually, this ridge comes in and is much greener, so that's going to be much more toward the foreground. But just trying to get the idea of the right things in the right spots first. This color, because I'm working with a fairly low contrast. If it's not perfect, I'll have be a little bit more forgiving. There we go. I've got another one. Quick way to check if you've got the right sort of level. I'm not quite there, but not too far off either. It's going to be a lot else that goes on before I worry about that too much. All right. Trying to kind of block in where some things will be. Sometimes I'll keep all this in my head, but for this one, because I was thinking about trying to do some really small marks and use cross hatching, I wanted to have a little bit more of a layout planned so that I don't cause a lot of trouble. I'm trying to keep the paint kind of thin right now, just so it's easy to work over. Almost doesn't. This color isn't that important. There we go. It's getting pretty close to having what we need. I'm gonna have some flowers in here. I'm gonna let those mostly be for now. Maybe just sort of hint at the stem. This one here, just because they seem kind of important to the composition. Yeah. All right, back to putting some colors, I guess. So I'm gonna go a little bit more purple, just grabbing a little bit of alizarin here. It's probably too red. A little bit more blue, kind of get kind of a purple gray. I want it a little darker than this, but not too much. Dragging the knife nice and easy here. Does a nice job of putting in a little bit of texture. Not too much. Go back and put some snow in there. avoiding the temptation to touch this a lot of times. It's kind of better if it doesn't mix in too much, at least for now. I think once this dries, I'll be able to do a little bit more with it. I may even wait for that in order to put in the snow. A little bit of green. Just kind of looking at these mountains and seeing what's in there. Get a little bit more toward the foreground. Getting closer and closer, and then some of these other greens are kind of showing in here. Interesting. In this mountain, because it's closer, it has a look of being larger, but I think it's probably not as tall as the ones in the background. It doesn't have as much snow on it. A little yellow ochre, this green mix. Just bringing in sort of closest trees. Probably work back into all of these, but it's just a matter of kind of setting up the background. Curious about exploring this square format a little bit more. Something that's a little nice again about it. framing these guys. Let's see, we've got a bit more. Bring in some sort of a darker blue. Let's go and up just a little. Just kind of putting in this is like the shadow at the base of this little forest area. Area below the trees mostly. Kind of just throw it in there like this. Work into all of it a bit more later. Different shadows and trunk shapes and all the stuff that makes it feel like there's a lot of individual trees. Sketching in some of this reflected area too. I've got a lot of similar colors. A little bit of the same idea over here too. Looking pretty good. I need to kind of weave some different colors in here. I'm just kind of getting this sort of volume established. This is where there's like a whole bunch of different plants in the foreground, and they're really puffy, which I like. I think that they look very like springy in a nice way. Still gonna lay in some other darks here. Maybe a little bit of this. Let's see. I've got some really beautiful crystal blue color. Start working these in. I think having these just like overlap a little bit for now. It's a nice way to kind of get them started. It's pretty good. Backlit plants here. trying to think about sort of what all these directional marks are going to look like here. Grabbing kind of the darkest shapes that I see, just like layering them in. I'm trying to stick to the coolest and darkest tones for right now. I like actually kind of that buttery, soft texture that I'm able to get this way. Kind of like pushing the paint into the board. Be a good way to make like fog, I think, actually. Let's see, maybe I can do. Maybe I'll use that over here too. Yeah. Little areas land. Cool. Okay. Funny, sometimes I think I need a brush when I don't. This is actually going just fine the way it is. Sort of dotted look here. It's working pretty well. Fun just making these kind of leafy shapes. Just kind of like doing this little squiggle. I think if I overlap enough of them, the texture's all going to come together. Saying I'm going to scrape this down, but there's plenty of good paint here, so there's no reason to fuss over it just for that. The only thing that's bad about it is it's slightly annoying. If I can stop getting annoyed about it, there's no problem. These like little tree impressions here on this edge. I feel like just getting the sense of scale from how small they are back here. Just sort of help it all flowers where I see them. That's about right. I want their stems in place. I guess I can keep going. Let's see how it goes. Kind of getting close to where I think I'll probably sort of wind up for today. I'm gonna do just kind of work a little bit more darkness in over here. Seeing a little bit more contrast in this edge area. There was a little bit more until I blended it out, so just kind of working it back in. So I'm thinking about if I was doing this as a plein air painting, kind of how would I strategize, since I wouldn't want to have to stop, since I'd be feeding the light and wanting to get it all kind of done before things change too much. So sometimes doing like a very layered painting doesn't really work for that. It's gonna get a nice feel to it though. Kind of a similar thing going on in the sky. I want to just brighten it up a little bit more up here. Not too much though. Try a little bit. Blending this out a little bit. I'm planning to go over this with wax still, so probably don't really need to be doing this right now. But because I worked in a little bit more of this more vibrant blue in the water, I kind of want to have the sky have a bit of that too. Also worked in a little bit of kind of a cloud layer here. I'm gonna smooth this out though. Kind of mirroring that softness in the water too. Don't want to go too far with that. Sort of, I feel like doing this like horizontal and vertical thing is like very, kind of has like a Monet vibe to it. Kind of getting rid of some of these overly light spots. Further forward they make sense. Further back, they're a little distracting. Trying to keep an eye on what's on my brush too, so I don't start dragging the wrong colors into the wrong places. But a little softening, I don't think it's a bad thing over here. Yeah, a lot of this is just starting to get rid of some of this background that's in here where I've got the paint pretty thick. Actually, I can handle it being a little thinner and a little bit more filled in. The knife works out really well for mixing the colors though, and getting them kind of where I want them to be. It's kind of works as another way to get the texture right. Going to be a nice place to stop for now. I'm going to come back tomorrow after this sets up a little bit. I'm going to put in the flowers because I want those colors to be really bright and pop off of the background. I'll probably put the snow in as well on the mountain peaks, and just kind of put in a little bit of extra spark wherever it seems like it'll go. So, all right, I'll be back in a few. All right, and I'm back. Let's see. So, thinking that for the next thing that I want to do with this painting is I'm going to go into the background. I'm going to put in the snow on these mountains that are the furthest away. Maybe put a little bit of extra cloud cover in. I want to keep this kind of faded look for most of the background, so I'm not gonna go into too much more with it. Actually, I think I'm gonna let that mostly be. I want to work mostly into the darkest colors and the brightest colors now. Those are gonna be some of these little areas in here, and then the flowers in the foreground. Yeah, so I guess I'll just get going and keep sharing what I'm doing. All right, use the salt knife here. So for my snow that's the furthest back, I'm gonna mostly use some white for that. A little bit of linseed oil as well, just to make it a little thinner. May add just a little touch of blue to this as well, just so it's not the absolute brightest thing in the scene. Let's see if that's kind of snowy blue from another painting. I had a lot of it. Grab a little of that. Just enough to make it not bright white. I'm gonna try and make a better habit of stepping back to look at this too. I think it's something that can make a big difference if I want to avoid sort of the tendency to overblend things. I try not to second guess myself too much, but there are a couple points in this where I feel like I might have blended it out more than was really ideal. Which, since I normally don't blend anything, it's probably just getting into doing a little bit of that. It's tempting to do too much, so just something I'm thinking about. Like just kind of grabbing this texture. The snow in here. Alright. That's pretty good. Gonna mix up a little bit more green. I want to bring a little bit more texture to these blue and green tones here. So actually clean this out. My Meridian is cut into this. That Meridian. You grab a little yellow ochre. I want to just make it a little bit less bright, a little bit more yellow. Let's see. That seems like a pretty good color for some of this. Yeah. Okay. I'm not over mixing it either. I'm kind of letting it stand up as a few different colors. Knife's good for doing these kind of tree shapes. Letting this paint be pretty thick now, since I'm not planning to really go over it, and let the shape of it kind of give it a sculptural look. A little more yellow there, a little bit more green here. I like this method of kind of working in a more sort of wet on wet style for one day and then coming back in and sort of bumping up the contrast and the texture. I feel like it lets you push a little bit more dimensionality out of it. Slightly bluer green over here. Slightly lighter too. Let's see. A bit too light. feel like that brings up a little, just a little more. I wanted to keep that faded look, but I didn't want them to get too lost either. So that kind of works. Sometimes it's the tricky thing is knowing when to stop, when to let a piece be the way it is, but it's also kind of the nice thing about painting is you get to really get to decide when it's done anyway, so it's okay if you don't get something right the first try. Alright. Get a little bit more of this phthalo yellow green out. I feel like it's just a handy color to have in this mix right now. There we go. All right. Tricky. I'm trying to figure out exactly how to get this sort of like bright yellow green that I want. I feel like the phthalo yellow green is a good. It starts going to the right places. Actually, isn't too bad. A little bit of that, a little bit of cadmium yellow, I think it's kind of getting me to about the right spot. I've also got this cadmium yellow light. It's not, I don't know, it's not that light. Sometimes there's certain colors that are just a little tricky to get to. Actually, this isn't really not off by much. There we go. That's sort of giving the right feel now. There we go. That's just, it's getting a little bit more vibrant. Let's see. Take some of this add red light and some of this green meridian, and just try popping in a little bit down here. Got this sort of patch of whatever it is, has a lot of little dark, but sort of a warm dark shadow kind of speckled in here. I feel like I'm just gonna try putting it in, not worrying too much about the shape of any of it. I'll probably be layering over this a bit. I could go even darker. Put in some raw umber maybe. Here we go. That's, I think, a little linseed oil of that. Seeing more of it kind of on this lower edge, so I'm kind of speckling it in there more. Sort of speckle in some lighter tones to kind of give this a little bit more form after. Okay. Here you go. A little bit redder. A little bit of alizarin. I'm gonna mix in a sort of greener version of this as well to be a shadow color down here. Got some more sort of shadows and grasses. I'll leave that color a little bit broken up too, though. I'm really going to try not to really blend anything else. I think I'm going to try and leave my sort of blending in my first layer, and then let the second part go a little bit more. Kind of a similar look over here. The leaves get a bit bigger. Try and make these shapes a little larger. I like this knife relief shapes a lot though. It's kind of a pointy one. It seems to work. The texture from yesterday is really showing up in here pretty nicely. Just kind of letting me grab the high spots. I think Renoir was known for doing a lot of that. I can't think of the name for it right now, but sort of using the texture of the paint. There we go. So now I've got, hoping to mix in some light greens as well as some light purple, like sort of magenta colors. I use some magenta paint for that because there's no real way to make magenta other than magenta. So just add that, and we'll do some white with that. I'll start a little bit light with it. It'll also, it's not a super strong color, so the white will kind of help it stand up off the background. I'm gonna do one slightly more purple one as well. And yeah, that should work kind of well. So I'm gonna start sketching these in kind of a loose way. I'm not gonna worry about putting in every petal, but I want to get the shapes right. So try that one. I'm gonna try putting a little bit of, yeah, that kind of works. I'm just putting kind of this highlight in. Do mix a little white into this green as well. And see if I can kind of get that to stand up in a similar way for some of these leaves. Yeah, I think that'll work. The shape was not 100% what I was going for. That's a little better, I think. Alright. I think the color's about right. I'm just kind of looking to pick up where the sun's hitting these. They're kind of all clustered together, so it's not as though you can really see the whole plant in its entirety anyway. And I'm painting with a knife, so I can only get so much detail. So I gotta use color to tell the story. Just kind of squishing this down to kind of get it to yeah, there we go. Got a little texture, it's a little spiky. That kind of works. We're gonna need to mix up some more of that. That's okay. Go. Okay. Moving along. I like it. Okay. Make a little more of this purple one. Well, that's a gorgeous blue. Kind of a really gorgeous violet purple. It's not the color I need, but it's really pretty. A little more magenta into that. Alright, let's see. Actually, a lot of this is very bright, so I'm gonna put a little bit of this as a sort of shadow and a place marker. A little bit over on this side here. Same idea. Locating my bases of flowers here. probably get away with not doing that, but I feel like it's the kind of thing that will probably be worth it, even if it's just to help me get my bearings. Put a little alizarin in this. I'm just going to build a little bit more on top of these ones. So it's not quite as bright as the full magenta, but it's got a similar tone. Then next, I'm going to put some magenta with a little bit of white. There we go. I like the way that these are sort of pointy on top. That was not quite what I was going for, but make it work. Okay. Mixing, kind of going into the shadow color, so that I'm pulling these sort of petal shapes out. I think that's getting the right idea. A little more of this white, phthalo green, whatever. Just gonna get the sun hitting these leaves in here. Yeah, this white's really helping the screen stand up a little bit better. It was not covering so well without it. So it's also just makes it a little thicker too. a lot of that pink. Just kind of popped it in along here a little bit. So I'm going to hint at some of these a little further away. Just kind of darting up back here. Pretty nice, I think. Is there more to do? Or shall I call it? I think I like this one right where it is, and I think that it's a good place to let it be, maybe. Always tempting to do a little more, but I think just see a little bit of a shadow here could be nice. This seemed a little crazy to do at the last minute, but I really felt like it needed a little bit more dark here. Let's see, I feel good about that now. Just soften that up a little bit. Just here, nowhere else. little bit more. A little more for this waterline. I'm just streaking a little sky through here. Just gives it that extra bit of sparkle that it needed. I think that's there. I think that's good. I like this sort of impressionist way of doing these plants. But it's working pretty well. I think I've been a little quiet for this painting. Yeah, I hope it's okay. Yeah, I think I can leave this one here. And I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you have a wonderful day or night, or whatever you're off to next.